Hello, fellow freaks, geeks, and normies. Today is Friday, April 26th, and this is Grade the Gaming News. Links to all the stories will be in the description below, and if you're new here, please feel free to like and subscribe. Now, let's get into the news. So our first story comes from Games Radar. Garry's mod is removing all Nintendo-related mods from their Steam workshop. Also, just to note, there has been an update to the story that there may be a well-known troll who actually baited this takedown in the first place, claiming to be Nintendo to the developers. Whether or not that's true is yet to be determined. If Nintendo did issue this takedown, then they need to chill the fuck out. I'm not too well versed in Garry's mod or anything, but I don't imagine there to be too much of an overlap between the player base of Nintendo players to those who are actively still playing Garry's mod and playing these Nintendo mods in there. Regardless if it was a troll or if it was Nintendo just being a dick again, asking Garry's mods creators to ask this of their community to take down their mods after, up to upwards of 20 years, this story gets an F. Like, for real, inhibiting this sort of creativity is never a good outcome. Next up, we got basically all of the Fallout games getting a resurgence in players, breaking previous records seen on Steam DB. Obviously, this is due to the popularity of the Amazon Prime show Fallout. There are many articles covering this, so just Google either Fallout Amazon Prime show or any of those games, and I'm sure you'll find some sort of headline covering something like this. To keep it short, the faithful Fallout communities are feeling themselves, saying, "We are so back," which is great to see. I personally can't buy into the hype of those particular games, but maybe I'll jump back into New Vegas or something sooner than later. Although, I was sent a super ridiculous headline from one of my friends citing that Fallout 76 is the greatest live service game out there right now, even better than Helldivers 2. Yeah, no. Just no. Never. This story gets a B. It's great to see that Fallout gets their time in the sun again thanks to the TV show, but I can't really forgive Bethesda for, their Fallout 76 launch. The story would be an A, but yeah, no, it's just a B thanks to Fallout 76 just being a terrible launch. And not only that, just looking at the game, it looks like there's some pretty predatory microtransaction things going on there too, so still a B. Moving along, we are sticking with Fallout. This one not so great. There was a next-gen update that was supposed to be pushed out for all of the next-gen consoles, including PlayStation 5, and it kind of worked. Turns out that the PlayStation Plus members were not getting the update for free, and there was an update that Bethesda was working on this, because the update was free for Xbox Game Pass members as well as people who bought it on Steam. It looks like if you didn't spend actual money on the game, this was not free for any PlayStation Plus members. So this means that since it was part of the PlayStation Plus monthly games when around the PlayStation 5 launched, if you claimed it then, you would not get this update for free. Again, Bethesda is working on this, and they are saying currently that the extra members will be getting the update for free, which is kind of concerning because there's a tier right below that called Essential. So whether or not the Essential players get it is yet to be seen. This story comes from Kotaku. This story, to me, gets a C. It's really that this happened in the first place for all parties involved, because I'm sure that Bethesda really just wanted everybody to play the game, and I'm sure that people who want to play the game wanted to get this next-gen update, but at least it's somewhat getting fixed, and we'll see what happens to those Essential members. We'll keep rolling along. If you are too lazy to play any games this weekend or this week, I don't know why you would, then you are in luck, because this esports weekend is freaking banging. It's popping off this weekend. Let's start with the smaller stuff, and I'll make this quick because I have a lot to say about the big thing that's happening later. Overwatch Champions Series has their main event going on, which the top 2 teams will then qualify for DreamHack Dallas, which then will get them qualified for the World Cup or whatever it is that the Saudi E-League is doing. So we'll see what that comes to. But moving on, we have VALORANT Champions Tour as well. Still going through the groups. We are in week 4 of 5. And this again is a qualifying group stage for Master Shanghai for the VCT. I'm personally rooting for Team Secret, which is a team full of Filipinos, much like myself, obviously. So if they make it to Master Shanghai, I'm going to pog so hard. And speaking of pogging so hard that you might need a new box of tissues, the biggest fighting game event is happening this weekend, up to this point, which is Evo Japan 2024. If you don't know what Evo is, it is the biggest fighting game tournament of the year. That one actually is held in Las Vegas during the summer, but since that got so big and to get more international play going, they added Evo Japan in the spring. Evo Japan has slowly been growing over the past few years, and it's relatively new when we compare it to the actual Evo. And based on the Start.gg bracket, Street Fighter leads the pack with over 5,000 entrants, which is insane. Below that is Tekken with 1,200 entrants. And then third most popular is Guilty Gear Strive with just under 1,000. Absolutely bonkers numbers for Street Fighter 6, which is great to see. It's awesome to see that the fighting game community is still very strong there. Street Fighter is the most popular fighting game out in Japan as well, so that's not really a surprise. But to see it beat out Tekken by almost triple the amount is kind of insane. To put it in perspective, last year, which was Street Fighter V's last tournament, that tournament only saw 1,700 entrants for Street Fighter V. So to go from 1,700 or 1,800 to 5,000 is really cool to see. So enough about the numbers. Just talking about Evo Japan in general, or Evo in general, they have heavy implications to their circuits for each respective game. For the Tekken World Tour, Evo Japan is one of 2 events, the other being Evo in the summer, that are considered a Masters Plus event. That nets the first place player with 800 points, basically guaranteeing them a spot in the Tekken World Tour finals later in the year. When we look at games like Street Fighter, the first place automatically gets qualified for Capcom Cup later in the year. And this also applies to the Arc System games, which include Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Guilty Gear Strive, and Under Night in Birth 2. First place to those games get automatically qualified for the Arc World Tour 2024. And oddly enough, Evo Japan ends on Monday night in Japan, which means it ends really, really early Monday here in the States, which is awesome news for night owls like myself. I can finally give esports that A, the A-est of A's. There has never been an A that was more A than this A, Now we move on to some general news. This one comes from Blizzard themselves. They are canceling BlizzCon 2024. They didn't really give a real reason other than they have come to the conclusion after quote unquote careful consideration. I don't imagine this to be too big of a surprise, actually. I'm not surprised by it. Big events like this are getting more and more rare and more expensive. And I'm sure that they didn't have anything planned that is a big reveal anyway. So to pair that big expense with little to show for it means that, yeah, you should cancel the event. Not only that, I assume that the prices to mitigate some of those higher costs to rent out the space is going to require a higher cost of the tickets. So you pair that higher ticket price with potentially nothing to show for it, then yeah, you're going to get some pretty pissed off people. And I'm sure that they want to avoid that like the plague right now. They have gotten into too much controversy in the past 2 years, and they really need to think about turning a new leaf now. And I think this is the correct choice for them. Like 100%, this is the 100% the correct choice for Blizzard to cancel BlizzCon. It is disappointing, but I do believe it needs to be done. This story gets a C, mainly because it is something that we got used to, just like, E3, but things like this are dying and we have to kind of get used to this new future. Moving along, this next story comes from gamesindustry.biz. Embracer Group announces plans to split into 3 separate companies. I mean, I guess this is good, right? The article itself states that there will be 3 different companies with 3 different names, obviously. Those 3 names are going to be Asmodee Group, Coffee Stain and Friends, and Middle Earth Enterprises and Friends. The latter two are definitely getting renamed according to the article. Each one will focus on a different part of the gaming industry. So Asmodee Group is actually looking at tabletop games, where Coffee Stain and Friends is looking more at the indie and AA space for console, PC, and mobile. Okay, so I'm not even going to pretend like I know how business works, but I guess this is a good move by Embracer because it's a good way to make people forget that all these companies are actually the same company who failed to secure a $2 billion deal with the Saudi Arabia group, which in turn led to a loss of over 1,400 jobs. I'm pretty sure that's a good idea to, remove yourself from that whole situation. And honestly, that whole 1,400 employees lost, fired, let go, that is not a good number to tout about. I don't even understand how that even happened. Like, were these companies just not fine before? Did they hemorrhage that much money acquiring all these studios that just they didn't even want to see one of those projects through from a well-known developer? Was that like too much of a time sink and a money sink? I don't know. Anyway, if this somehow comes back to some game devs and getting more jobs out there, then I'm all for it. It honestly should have never come to this point, so the story gets a C. All right, and we are getting banger after banger from gamesindustry.biz because this next one is from them too. Meta opens up the Quest's operating system for third-party hardware. According to the article, Lenovo and Asus are working on a headset, or at least planning to work on a headset in the near future. What's even more exciting is that the Meta is looking to open up its software side of things, hoping to get games from Steam, Xbox, and even Google Play. The only downside I see is getting maybe too many of these headsets using this operating system and figuring out which one is the best one that works for me and my budget. In the same vein, this could be a way for Meta to get some money back into the VR and AR division of their company. In a related article, also from gamesindustry.biz, they show that Meta has an operating loss of $3.85 billion this quarter, which is actually an improvement from last year's quarter one, where they saw an operation loss of $3.99 billion. I'm a big backer of VR, so hopefully we can see more of these headsets come out from the bigger and better PC tech companies, and hopefully they can surpass what the Meta Quest 3 has been able to accomplish, which is no easy feat because hands down the Meta Quest 3 is the best VR AR headset out there. It's the best bang for your buck on the market currently. This story for me gets an A. For anything to get us closer to that VR and AR future, like Sword Art Online, then I'm all for it, except for, the whole dying in the game, dying in real life thing. Not like the Stay Alive movie with Frankie Muniz. And I just got a couple more for you. Gear 6 gets hinted by a Gears 5 voice actor, Liam McIntyre, who played JD Phoenix. I'm not the biggest fan of Gears, so I'm going to kind of keep this short, but it is great to see that they're still trucking, that they still are keeping these games up to date, and that they are continuing the story from something that was started, back in, late aughts, early 10s. I only wish that my horse was still in the race. And by that I mean Resistance or Killzone, but I'll take Gears. This story gets a B since I'm not too attached to the series itself. I'm sure if I was even a little bit more attached to it, it would be an A, but B for me. And the last story of the day, we have Metaphor ReFantazio gets a release date, which is October 11th, 2024. This is announced during their Atlas exclusive showcase featuring Metaphor ReFantazio. That showcase was around 20 or so minutes, delving into some of the core mechanics of the game, as well as explaining a little bit more of the story from the beginning. Definitely worth a look if you're even mildly interested in the game, because this could be Atlas's next big game to walk hand in hand or right next to the Persona series. I have high hopes for this one, and you can even check it out in my video right here. You can click that right there and see my Game of the Year nominees for 2024. That game made it on the list. Yeah, obviously I'm accurately predicting the future in those videos, so check it out. Link to that Game of the Year 2024 video and the showcase will be in the description below. And that just about does it for the gaming news this week. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you did not like the video, then give it a thumbs down. Let me know what you're playing this weekend or what esport you're watching this weekend. Have I convinced you to watch Evo Japan 2024? Are you one of the thousands and thousands of people jumping back in the Fallout series? Let me know which Fallout game you're playing, which Fallout game is your favorite. Or are you jumping back into the Gears games because now that Gears 6 is on the horizon, potentially, are you wanting to just complete that whole series again, or maybe for the first time? Who knows? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see y'all in the next one.